Qualification is an incredibly powerful tool. You can use it for a number of different things, and it breaks down into a set number of different techniques. Each one is just as powerful as the others. From being able to tap into the subconscious mind of somebody so that you can interact with them and generate attraction on a very deep subconscious level, through to using it to identifying the kind of person you want to be with, and more importantly, having them identify themselves as the kind of person you want to be with, so you don't waste time generating attraction with somebody that you're really not that interested in. Instead, you can find out if they are the person that you want to be with, and if they're not, you can move on to the next one. And finally, it's an incredibly powerful tool to get the other person to invest in you. At the end of the day, do you want to be somebody who's constantly chasing the other person and trying to get them to be attracted to you? Or do you want them chasing you and them constantly trying to explain to you why you should be dating them? Obviously, you want it that way around, because that way they're working hard to get you. And getting them to invest, getting them to put investment in, comes from using qualification. Now, I want to give you another example of preloading, a very powerful example that is one that I'm actually going to be sharing throughout the entire program on qualification. One of the biggest complaints and issues that I get from students when they're out talking to girls is the fact that a girl will often give them the "I have a boyfriend" response. Now, this response is incredibly annoying for a number of reasons. One, if you suspect they don't actually have a boyfriend, you know they're just trying to use it to get rid of you. And two, there is a chance that they might actually have a boyfriend, and so you don't really know how to act. You can't really call them out on it, because if they do, then they're going to latch onto that and they're going to get upset. And if they don't, then they're just going to get defensive over the whole situation anyway. Using preloading, we can actually find out whether they really do have a boyfriend or not. So I want you to imagine a situation where you're talking to a girl and suddenly she says it, "I have a boyfriend." All you do at this point is don't react to that and change the subject. So you go, "Okay, that's cool. So what do you do for a living?" Now, the idea is you can shift on to anything. It doesn't have to be what you do for a living, but the idea is to get onto a different subject and carry out that entire conversation without referencing the boyfriend again. So for example, if we were to use the "what do you do for a living" conversation, we can keep talking down that line. "Oh wow, that's so cool. Do you enjoy what you do?" etc., etc. And at some point, we want to build up her personal qualities and how they relate to her work. Now, in the actual video and the program, it's obviously a lot more in depth, and I'm having to be on this video because I've got to keep it quite short. But essentially, this is a very simple example of how this can work. So the idea is you're trying to merge their thoughts, their personality with their work. For example, most people, no matter what career they're doing, they do it because they want to help people, or because the action of their job ends up with them helping people. For example, if you work in retail, you are helping people because you're helping them buy something. If you work as a nurse, you're helping people because they're ill. If you work as a lawyer, you're helping people with their legal cases. If you build things, you're helping build cars. Whatever you do, most people help people, and that's very important, because we're going to attach that personality trait to a sentence to trigger the ability for them to admit whether they are dating somebody or not. So the sentence goes something like this: "Wow, that's incredible. You help people for a living. That's awesome. It can tell you're like a really caring person." Get them to agree with that. They can say, yes, I am a caring person. At that point, you've preloaded in their head that they're a caring person, and they're confirming it. And then at that point, you go, "Wow, I can imagine, I can tell just from talking to you, you're like a trustworthy and, could I even say this? Would you consider yourself an honest person?" Now, at this point, instead of saying "I think of them as an honest person," like I did with trust and like I did with helpful, I'm asking them to confirm whether they think of themselves as an honest person. If they do that, then they're preloading themselves. They're adding that statement to themselves, and if they confirm that they do consider themselves an honest person, I've got them primed, where they believe they're honest, they've stated they're honest, to now bring back the boyfriend situation. At this point, I can go, "Oh, that's cool. I love that about you. So how long have you dated your boyfriend?" Now they're in a bind. On one hand, they've just confirmed that they're an honest person, and on the other hand, the very next thing out of their mouth could be a lie. At this point, if you've done this correctly, most of the time, the girl will actually come clean and be like, "Actually, you know what? He's not really a boyfriend. He's just somebody I kind of know. I'm not really dating him." And you've succeeded in getting past the fake boyfriend response. If, however, you get a true response and they actually start talking about their boyfriend and have a whole bunch of stories, then you know you're probably dealing with a real boyfriend response, at which point, of course, you can back off because you know they're already in a relationship. So this shows just one way that you can use preloading as a very powerful technique by getting the other person to be congruent. The idea is that most people like being congruent. If I tell you something about myself, I typically like to think that that's real, and then my current actions straight after it are usually going to be very congruent with that statement. Over time, my actions might divert from that until, once again, I reconfirm that I do think, or I do act in that certain way, or until I become congruent with myself, and then I'll continue to stay congruent for a while afterwards. Like I said, this is just a very brief overview of preloading. As you can tell, it's a very complicated subject, and it's something that you do need a long time to sort of like to break down, which is why we've created the entire qualification program to not only break down the different techniques that you can use and some examples, but also to break it down in a very simple way so that you can fully understand it by doing it in small steps, taking you through the very basics, and then slowly expanding on it until it becomes more advanced. And that's just one section of qualification. Qualification also breaks down into identification, whereby you can use qualification to find out whether the person you're dating would actually be the kind of person you want to date, or whether you should have them as a friend, or whether they should just be a quick sexual encounter. You can identify exactly how you should have that person in your life, and therefore you save a lot of time. There's no point trying to get into a relationship with somebody who really just wants to have some kind of quick one-night interaction with you. Whereas on the other hand, there's no point trying to push somebody into one-night interaction if they're looking for a relationship, and in truth, that would be the kind of person you might want to settle down with. By identifying who somebody is incredibly early and using qualification to achieve that, you can save yourself a lot of time and make sure you don't end up having bad reactions and bad interaction with people that could be a very good warm interaction and actually benefit you a lot. And finally, qualification uses an incredibly powerful psychological technique which enables you to trigger investment. And this is backed up by a number of different psychologists, and it's all explained throughout the program, but the idea of investment is you get the other person to start chasing you, to put more effort into explaining to you why they should be with you, why they should, have a chance to start dating you, essentially making sure that you can just relax, not put any effort in, and have the other person put in all the hard work, tell you all about themselves, and have them chase and want to date you, which is an incredibly powerful position. Now, the whole concept of qualification is something that very few people understand to any great depth, and I've realized in my interactions with people moving around within the dating industry that even some of the experts struggle to understand exactly how it works or to explain it in a way that people can understand. So what I've done is I've put an entire program together breaking down every single aspect of qualification in simple, easy to use terms for this incredibly powerful technique. Now, this is going to be released incredibly soon. It's going to be first come, first served. So you're in the right place to make sure that you find out all the information and you get the chance to grab this before anybody else does. What I will say is keep an eye out for the emails. You're going to be getting a couple of emails giving you information about this. One of them is actually going to be giving you some examples and some advice on how to use identification and investment, similar to this video you just watched on preloading, giving you more of a teaser of kind of like how this stuff works, and more importantly, some ideas that you can use straight away to make this work for you. Using qualification, you're going to see an immediate boost to not only your actual interactions, but your knowledge and understanding of the game. You're going to be using attraction at a much higher level than most people, which enables you to outmaneuver others and really get the kind of people you want, leaving your competition in the dust. So you're in the right place for this. Just look out for the emails, check each one as they arrive to make sure you don't miss out on any of the information and any of the advice so you can start putting this into practice straight away, and I'll see you in the next video.